indicator of learning. Uh, that's the first point I would like to make. Second is, as Dr. Anup Singh has rightly said, that pedagogy is closely related to assessment. Because if you have gone wrong on assessment, even the right pedagogy is not going to produce the right result. So are you assessing for learning, or are you assessing of learning? Assessment of learning, are you doing assessment of learning, or are you doing assessment for learning? So there are ways assessment can be converted into the tool for learning. So assessment becomes learning itself. So when the students are assessed, they learn. So learning and assessment, the difference actually gets blurred. That's the reason why we are actually moving from grading, we call it grading system, to the assessment system. These are two different systems that we are talking about. Assessment is for the learning, of the learning. So it's the process that is important. How do you design your assessment? And is your pedagogy linked to the assessment? These two mapping has to be very, very important. Third is, what do we want our student to become? We have been making them dependent learners. So they are too much dependent on us. We want them to be independent learners. And one of the complaints of the faculty is that the students are not learning of their own. But what is required these days is not just making the students an independent learner, but also make them an interdependent learner, which is a bigger challenge actually in our system. So how do they work in team is the biggest casualty. And if you look at the difference in the pedagogy in the Western world, the kind of Harvard and other universities that we are talking about, and the pedagogy that we are using here is this. That we are not actually looking at how to make the student interdependent. How can they work together? How they can sit together and talk. I was really wondering, my son has done BA Economics from Achievement. They have adopted this kind of methodology. So I keep on asking him, how are you being assessed? How are you being, getting grades? How is the teacher's teaching? I just wanted to get a feel of it. What he suggested and he told continuously all through his BA Economics is that his end-term exams, that his hall exams were almost negligible. So they were given a research paper and 3-4 of the students will have to deconstruct the entire research paper together. Hours together they will actually deliberate on that and they come back and make the presentations, that kind of methodology. So are we making our student a dependent learner? Are we making our student independent learner? Which is good enough, of course, but are we making students interdependent learners? That's the question that's in front of us. So a lot depends on ecosystem. Pedagogy cannot actually work in isolation. That's what my experience is. So I've been doing a lot of research on pedagogy. I can tell you that pedagogy cannot work in isolation. It has to be supported by the ecosystem, because if the ecosystem is not there, the pedagogy will not work. Even if you innovate, it will not work. And what is the ecosystem we are talking about? We are talking about the conditions of learning. So when you talk about, let's say, Cope's theory, or Fink's taxonomy, or Bloom's taxonomy, all these kind of people, they have actually said, or they have time and again proven the fact that the learning and the life, they do not actually can be visualized separately. They are actually one and the same. And in one of the interesting dissertations, Cope suggested that how we live is how we learn. So how do we live actually? So we live by seeing, we live by doing work, we live by sensing things, and therefore there is a big role which is coming up of the neuroscience. So there is a pedagogy which is based on neuroscience. It's called the neuroscience-based learning methods, and it's getting very popular. So I'm one who has done some courses in neuroscience. I'm doing it for my happiness studies, but I find that this is very, very significant in terms of learning if I start using neuroscience. So it is the limbic brain that you have to look at, how the limbic brain actually functions, and how the prefrontal brain works as far as your retention of knowledge and understanding and your interest in knowledge is concerned. So these are some of the issues that we have to look at. These are the modern development we have. Last point I would like to, in my initial remark, I would like to say is that one of the indicators of learning is how you organize learning. So a mere fact that the learning is organized in a better way for the students as well as for the faculty, can enhance learning up to 20 to 30%. That's what the research says. So, do we really know how to organize? Do we really tell our students how to organize learning? So I'll just give you an example. There is a professor who comes in the class, in the first class itself, he tells the student, these are some of my fundamental rules you have to follow. Number one, then in my class you have to bring the copy and the pen. I want to see this copy and pen on the table. And if I don't see your copy and pen on the table, you're not supposed to be in my class, right? It's very interesting to see that professors observe that the class is there, but none of them are actually writing anything when the lecture is being delivered. There is no copy, there is no pencil, there is no pen, there is no writing. And as Professor Singh has rightly said that when you stop talking after 15 minutes, because that's what neuroscience actually suggests, stop talking after 10-15 minutes and start writing on the board. You say, okay, fine, in the last 15 minutes I have actually suggested 2 things, number 1 is this, number 2 is this, and invariably you will see the behavior of student will change. They will all take out their copy and start writing those 2 points. That's called the power of listing. So many professors understand the power of listing, and powerful listing can be used in the classroom as a pedagogy, and which can actually enhance the learning. Why does it enhance the learning? Because it actually goes into organizational function of the learning. So, the job of the professor is not to just understand what economics is or what physics is, but job of the professor should also to understand few nuances of how learning works. So if we understand how learning works, we can do actually miracle in terms of student learning in the classroom. So that's what the pedagogical. So I would like to devote some 5 minutes to talk about the academic quality and the ecosystem which I referred to, and then come back to few more observations on and conclude in 6 to 7 minutes. So can I have the second slide? So when we talk about the academic quality, what is the expectations from the academic quality? Strategic mindset. Strategic mindset does not actually involve only the faculty. It is a part of larger ecosystem. So the people who are sitting at the top bosses of the university, the top bosses, do you have a strategic mindset? Do you really know where you are going? So do you have mission? Do you have vision? So these are very important. Do you have a strategic plan? So everything starts from there. So the natural question that can be asked is that, okay, fine, you are in university. What do you want to become in next 5 years or 10 years? I want to become an elephant. What kind of elephant do you want to become? Is it an African elephant or the Asian elephant? Oh, I want to become an Asian elephant. So how do you define the Asian elephant? It has a big trunk, it has 4 legs, this much of this, this much of that. And this is how it boils down to what you really do. And then everything flows from there. So that's very important indicator of creating the ecosystem. Collegial environment is integral part of it. If there is no collegial environment, there is no quality, actually. And this is one pain point, and I'm sorry to say, this is a pain point of the Indian academic system, academic environment. Where from it is derived, the quality? It derives from the good processes and systems that we have in place. It derives from leadership. It derives from organization, institutional support, and resources. So these are some of the fundamentals. What are the essential elements of quality? Quality teaching is the most important part of academic ecosystem. Evidence of learning, it has to be followed by the evidence of learning. The question is that, why do we teach? Are we teaching for the sake of teaching? Is the teaching per se is the objective? The teaching per se cannot be the objective, right? It has something, some goal in front of it. We're teaching because the students really out there to learn. And that's why we are teaching. There is a purpose behind teaching. So why do the students want to learn? That's another question that we might ask. And then you will see that there is a huge vistas of possibilities that will open up in front of us. And we can design our teaching according to these answers that will come from these 2 questions. So evidence of learning is very important. Relevant curriculum, are we changing curriculum? Are we conscious about it? Impactful research, engagement with the business community and the society. This is the larger trend in higher education. So we'll look at how educational institution is actually getting connected with the society. That's a very important plan. Can we have the second slide? So when we talk about the foundation of academic quality, there are three elements that we need to focus on. One is the engagement. We have spoken quite a lot about engagement. Second is innovation. It's also the foundation of academic quality. And third is impact. We have not talked about impact so far. I haven't seen in new education policy or NEP also talking about impact, but indirectly it indicates to the fact that you have to reach out to the community. But we need to understand as an academic fraternity, we need to understand what impact is and why it is important that the student and faculty, they actually take note of it and design their purpose and objectives, whatever they're engaged in, to create impact. So I'm also going to give some idea about these three elements. Can we have the next slide? What is engagement? Basically, it is about the academic and professional engagement by the faculty and the students. So if I ask any faculty member working in the university from last 10 years, and he says that in the last 10 years, I have not attended any conference, but that's not what is going to serve the purpose. Where is your engagement? Where is your currency coming from? You have done your PhD 10 years back, but what is the basic currency to sustain as a teacher that you are earning for? So that is very important. So what is your continuous engagement? And so is the case of the student. Second is focus on ensuring student, faculty, and other stakeholders' participation. Is there any platform where the student and faculty actually interact and they have a common platform to talk about? Where is the faculty talks happen in the ecosystem? Is there any way where the faculty that sits together and talk? So, that's very important. And this is something that is, a big pain point. So Department X faculty will not talk to the Department Y faculty. They think that they're very separate entities. So this is where the problem is. Can we have the next one? So I'm just giving you some sample engagement possibilities. So one is faculty or student engagement with the society, government, business community. If you do that, that is one way of creating engagement. Second is when the faculty and the student engagement with a broader academic community is established, is another way of creating engagement. Next slide. So in innovation, the question is that what is new for us? We were talking about change, and we can think about it. So I'm firmly of the opinion that yes, the faculty, they resist change, but they also resist doing the same thing time and again. So they also resist obsolescence. So that is the question over here in front of us. That's my experience. I may be wrong. So faculty, you bring something new, they will oppose, but they also do not like the obsolescence. And there lies the clue for pushing this agenda of change. And many faculty, they fear, but they also are in a position to understand that change is necessary. And these days, if you say that the change is not necessary, I don't think will be anywhere in the world, any corner you talk about, people will understand